The training room fell silent the moment Ricard padded through the doorway. Every cadet Vexian, Thromal, Krathi froze mid-exercise. The massive feline's amber eyes swept across the assembled recruits with the casual indifference of apex royalty. Ricard's species, the Shikari, were known throughout the galactic arm as intelligent predators whose homeworld sat atop every food chain. They chose their bonds carefully, and when they did, it meant something profound. Instructor Velthon, a four-armed Thromal with decades of military experience, straightened immediately. "Honored Ricard," he began, his translator rendering his respectful tone perfectly. "We were not informed." The cub ignored him entirely. Ricard's massive paws made barely a whisper against the training mat as he moved between rows of cadets. Several aliens instinctively stepped back. The Karathi duo near the sparring circle went absolutely still, their scales shifting to submissive gray. A Vexian flight specialist actually saluted, her crystalline wings folding tight against her back in deference. The Shikari cub walked past them all. At the far end of the room, Mira Solin was running through her combat sequences, completely unaware of the commotion. Sweat darkened her regulation shirt as she pivoted, struck at phantom opponents. Her movements economical and precise. She'd been at it for the better part of an hour, long after the official training period had ended. Humans had that reputation in the academy: stubborn, relentless, training beyond reason. Ricard sat down exactly 3 feet from where Mira was practicing. The cub settled onto his haunches with perfect posture, tail curled around massive paws, golden eyes fixed on the human with unwavering attention. He was easily the size of Earth's largest tigers, his dark fur striped with bioluminescent marks that pulsed slowly, a sign of contentment. Those who knew Shikari body language would recognize. "Cadet Solin," Velthon called out, his voice uncertain for perhaps the first time in his teaching career. "You have a visitor." Mira turned, breathing hard, and stopped short. Her eyes widened slightly at the sight of the enormous predator sitting a mere arm's length away. For 3 heartbeats, human and Shikari regarded each other in silence. Then Mira smiled and wiped her forehead with her sleeve. "Hey there, big guy. You picking a sparring partner, or just judging my form?" Several cadets made sounds of disbelief. One did not address a Shikari so casually. The species had been part of the Galactic Coalition for over 2 centuries, but they remained enigmatic, powerful, and were treated with a respect that bordered on fear. Ricard's luminescent stripes brightened the Shikari equivalent of a pleased expression. A low rumble emanated from his chest. Not quite a purr, but close enough to make the distinction meaningless. "I think he likes you," whispered Cadet Zixtal from across the room, a Karathi whose own predatory heritage made him more attuned to such things. "By the ancestors, I've never seen one choose so quickly." "Choose?" Mira glanced at the instructor, then back at Ricard. "What does that mean?" Velthon approached carefully, keeping his movements slow and non-threatening. "The Shikari are selective about companionship. Cadet Solin. When they're young, before full maturity, they sometimes form bonds with other species. It's rare, very rare, and when it happens..." He gestured at Ricard with one of his lower arms. "They simply know." "Know what?" "Who is worthy of standing beside them?" Mira looked down at the massive predator, who looked back with eyes that held an intelligence that made her throat tighten. There was something ancient in that gaze. Something that evaluated, and measured, and found her. Acceptable? No. More than that. Found her equal. "Can I..." Mira hesitated, then slowly extended her hand. Palm down, fingers loose. She'd grown up with dogs and cats, understood the universal language of non-threat. Ricard leaned forward, his nose nearly as large as her entire hand, and sniffed deliberately. Then, with a gentleness that seemed impossible for something so large and dangerous, he pressed his massive head against her palm. The training room erupted in a dozen different species expressions of shock. "Unbelievable," breathed a Vexian. "They've known each other for 30 seconds. Not 30 seconds. Velthon corrected quietly. "The Shikari don't measure time the way we do." Ricard didn't choose her in 30 seconds. He recognized her instantly. Over the following weeks, Rikar became Mira's constant shadow. Where she went, he followed. When she trained, he observed with those calculating amber eyes. When she studied in the library, he lay beside her chair, a mountain of fur and muscle, and barely contained lethality. When other cadets gave her a wide berth, unsure whether they were intimidated by the human or the predator, Rikar's presence made the answer clear. The bond became legendary across the academy. Instructors whispered about it in faculty lounges. How the human showed no fear, treated Rikar as partner rather than pet or threat. How Rikar's tactical instincts complemented Mira's strategic thinking in combat simulations. How they moved together in training exercises with a synchronization that took other bonded pairs years to develop. Humans, Velthon remarked to a colleague one evening, watching Mira and Rikar run through an obstacle course in perfect tandem, are the only species that looks at an apex predator and sees a friend. It's insanity, the colleague replied. No, Velthon said, his forearms crossed in contemplation. It's why they're dangerous. Why we're fortunate they're allies and not enemies. They don't see hierarchy the way we do. They don't see predator and prey. They see potential, partnership, possibility. In the training room, Mira vaulted over a barrier while Rikar flowed beneath it, both emerging on the other side without breaking stride. The Shikari cub's luminescent stripes blazed bright with exhilaration. Good run, Mira panted, reaching down to scratch behind Rikar's ear. The massive predator leaned into her touch, that deep rumble of contentment vibrating through the floor. Around them, cadets from a dozen species watched in silence, witnessing something that none of them fully understood but all of them recognized as significant. A human and a Shikari, two apex predators from different worlds, standing side by side as equals, not master and beast, not trainer and trained. Simply two warriors who'd found in each other exactly what they'd been searching for: recognition, respect, and an unspoken promise that whatever challenges lay ahead in the stars, they would face them together. Rikar's tail swept across the training mat in a gesture of deep satisfaction. He had entered this room looking for something, though even he hadn't known quite what. Now, sitting regally beside Mira Solon, he understood with perfect clarity that some bonds transcended species, language, or worlds. Some bonds simply were.